Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. Sīhāsana Chapter, the 2nd. 11. Sīhāsanadāyaka. When the world leader Siddhartha, the best biped, had reached nirvana, his words had been spread, many folks had embraced his dispensation with a pleased heart and happy mind. I had a lion throne fashioned. Having had the lion throne made, I had a footstool constructed, and then I had a house built there to shield the lion throne from rain. Due to the pleasure in my heart, I was reborn in Tusita. A heavenly mansion, well built, existed at that time for me. In length it measured 24. In width another 14 leagues. 7,000 lovely maidens were always waiting on me then. There was a couch made out of gold, well fashioned in the mansion there. Elephant and horse carriages and divine carriages served me. Palaces and also litters were produced according to wish. Couches constructed out of gems and many other costly things always came into being for me. That's the fruit of a lion throne. I am always climbing up steps, made of gold and made of silver, made of crystal, made of lapis. That is the fruit of the footstool. In the 94 eons since I performed that act of merit, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of good karma. There were 3 men all named Inda. 73 eons ago. There were 3 more named Sumana. 72 eons ago. And 70 eons ago. There were 3 kings named Varua. They were lords of 4 continents, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sīhāsanadāyaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sīhāsanadāyaka Thera is finished. Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. 12. Ekathambhika. The Blessed One named Siddhartha had a large group of followers. They had taken the lay refuge with faith in the thus gone Buddha. They all gathered and decided to build a hut for the teacher, still in need of one more pillar. They were searching the thick forest. Having seen them in the forest, I then went up to that group there. Pressing both my hands together, I made inquiries of that group. Those morally restrained layfolk, asked by me, then gave their reply. We desire to build a ma, but we are still 1 pillar short. Give me the 1 pillar duty. I will give it to the teacher. I will take that pillar to him. All of you please now be at ease. Pleased and with minds full of delight, they felled that pillar for me there. Then having turned around to leave, they went back to their own houses. Not long after that big group left, I then did give him that pillar. I was the first one to raise it. Happy, and with a happy heart. Because of the pleasure in my heart, I was born in a God's mansion. That lofty residence of mine was 100 stories in height. When the drums are being beaten, I am then being entertained. I was the king, Yasodhara. In the 55th aeon thence, there too I had a residence, which was 7 stories in height, appointed with fine gabled cells. There was 1 pillar, mind's delight. In the 21st aeon thence, I was the king known as Udina. There too I had a residence, which was 100 stories tall. In whichever womb I'm reborn, whether it's human or divine, I experience all of that. That is the fruit of 1 pillar. In the 94 eons since I gave him that pillar back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of 1 pillar. the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Ekathambhika Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Ekathambhika Thera is finished. Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. 13. Nanda. Pajamuttara's Koma cloth. I gave to the self become one. The sage so great, the blessed one. The best in the world, neutral one. Then Buddha, named for the lotus, made this prophecy about me. Due to giving this piece of cloth, you will have the color of gold, experiencing twofold bliss. Incited by your wholesome roots, you will be the younger brother of Gautama the Blessed One. Happy by nature but lustful, you will be greedy for pleasures. Being incited by Buddha, you will then go forth, renouncing. After you've renounced the world there, incited by your wholesome roots, knowing well all the defilements, you'll reach nirvana, undefiled. In the 7,000th aeon, there were 4 with the name Sela. 60,000 eons ago, there were 4 named Upasena. In the 5,000th aeon ago, there were 4 people named Sela. They were rulers of the 4 continents, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Nanda Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Nanda Thera is finished. Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. 14. Culla-Panthaka. The victor Pajamuttara, sacrificial recipient, leaving the group of followers, dwelt in the Himalayas then. I too was in Himalaya, dwelling in an ashram back then. I went up to the world leader, the great hero, who'd just arrived. Taking a floral umbrella, I went up to the bull of men, practicing his meditation. I caused him no interruption. Holding it up with both my hands, I gave the floral umbrella. Pajamuttara the great sage, the blessed one, then received it. All the gods, who were delighted, then approached the Himalayas. They let out their cheers of sadhu. The eyeful one will give him thanks. After saying this, then those gods approached him, the best among men. They were carrying in the sky his superb lotus umbrella. Hoisting a lotus umbrella, this ascetic gave it to me. I shall relate details of him. All of you listen to my words. He will exercise divine rule for 25 full eons. 34 times he's going to be a king who turns the wheel of law, in whichever womb he's reborn, whether it's human or divine. He's going to carry that lotus, arrayed out in the open air, in 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan. The one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. When Buddha's words have been proclaimed, he will attain the human state. In the mind-created body, he will be ranked as ultimate. There will be a pair of brothers. They will both be known as Piliṇḍa, enjoying the ultimate goal. They'll light up the dispensation. I went forth into homelessness. But even after 18 years, I'd not gained any distinction. In the Sakyan dispensation, I was in a dumb position. I was despised in the city. Even my brother dismissed me. It's now time for you to go home. Being one who was thus dismissed, I stood there with my mind depressed, in the monastery's storage room, desiring to be a true monk. Then to that place the teacher came, and touching my head with his hand, Then taking me by my own hand, he made me come inside again. Teacher, with compassion for me, gave a cloth for wiping the feet. In this way he did purify me. As I stood off to one side, having taken him by the hands, he who was like a red lotus, right there my mind was liberated, and I became an arahant. In my mind created bodies, I attained thorough excellence, knowing well all the defilements. Without defilements I now live. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Culla-Panthaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Culla-Panthaka Thera is finished. Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. 15. Piliṇḍa Vaccha. When the world leader Sumedha, the best person, reached nirvana, with a pleased heart and happy mind, I did puja to his stupa, gathering together there those whose defilements had been destroyed. Special knowledges, superpowers. I gave the monks' assembly a meal. At that time I also waited on Sumedha the Blessed One. He who was known as Sumedha then provided his thanks to me. Due to the pleasure in my heart, I'm born in a divine mansion. 6,000 divine nymphs delighted me in that mansion. They submitted only to me, with every pleasure constantly. I surpassed all the other gods. That is the fruit of good karma. In the 25th aeon thence, I was the king named Varua. I was then a will-turning king, endowed with extra special food. They did not have to plant the seed, nor did they need to yoke the plow. All the folks were able to feed on rice uncooked with firewood. After reigning there in that way, I went back to the divine state. Then too in that same way for me, success in food came into being. No living being, friend or foe, is doing any harm to me. I am beloved of them all. That is the fruit of good karma. In the 30,000 eons, since I provided that gift then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of scented ointment. In this present lucky aeon, one time I was the Lord of men. I was a will-turning king then, of great majesty and power. I established many people in the 5 moral precepts then, and made them achieve good rebirths. I was beloved of the gods. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Piliṇḍa Vaccha Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Piliṇḍa Vaccha Thera is finished. Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. 16. Rāhula. I gifted a mirrored surface in the 7-story palace of blessed Pajamuttara, the world's best one, the neutral one, the biped lord, the bull of men. The great sage then surrounded by 1,000 arahants undefiled, proceeded to his perfumed hut, standing in the monks' assembly, and lighting up that perfumed hut. The God of gods, the bull of men, the teacher, spoke these verses then. I shall relate details of him. Who would cause this palace to shine with a mirror well spread out here? All of you listen to my words. Things made of gold, things of silver, things made of lapis lazuli, whatever things he wishes for, will arise in the sky for him. 64 times the King of Gods. He will exercise divine rule. 1,000 times he's going to be a will-turner, without a break. In the 21st aeon hence, the Kshatriyan named Vimla victorious on all four sides. Will be a will-turning monarch. His city, called Ryuvat, will be well fashioned out of tile. Each side 300 leagues in length. Will be joined rectangularly. His palace named Suddhasana, constructed by Vissakama, will be furnished with gabled cells, studded with 7 kinds of gems, filled with divine musicians, and never lacking the 10 sounds. It will be like Suddhasana, the city where the gods reside, even when its radiance dims, as though the sun were rising then. It will be made to shine brightly, 8 leagues in every direction, in 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world. Falling from Tusita heaven, incited by his wholesome roots, he'll be the legitimate son of Gautama the Blessed One. If he should remain in the house, then he would be a will-turner. For that reason an arahant can't obtain pleasure within the house. Being well trained he will renounce. After going forth from the house, he will be known as Rāhula, and he will become an arahant. As a blue jay protects its eggs, and as an ox protects its tail, so too, great sage, I being wise and moral did protect virtue. Understanding his teaching, I lived loving his dispensation, knowing well all the defilements. Without defilements I now live. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Rāhula Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Venerable Rāhula Thera is finished. (17) Upasena Vagantaputta. I approached the ultimate man, the blessed Pajamuttara, the world's best one, the bull of men, as he sat on a mountain slope, seeing a dinner plate in bloom. I plucked several stalks from it, and, adorning an umbrella, I raised it over the Buddha. And then I gave an almsgiving of milk rice, delicious to eat. I fed 8 monks who were there then, with the Buddha as the 9th one. The great hero gave thanks to me, the self become one, best person. Because of this umbrella gift, there will be showers of milk rice. He will enjoy great happiness, due to that pleasure in his heart. 30 times as the king of gods, he will exercise divine rule, and 20 different times he'll be a king who turns the wheel of law, and he will have much local rule, innumerable by counting. The one whom they call Sumetha, greatly wise, wise as is the earth, is going to become the Buddha in 100,000 eons. When the dispensation's shining, he will go to a human state, with Upasena as his name. He'll be the teacher's follower. This is the last time I'll exist. Now all being has been cancelled, conquering death with his legions. I am bearing my last body, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Upasena Vagantaputta Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Upasena Vagantaputta Thera is finished. The 3rd recitation portion is finished. (18) Rāhula. A rare elephant, fit for kings, with chariot pole tusks was given by me to blessed Pajamuttara, the world's best one, the neutral one. It included all the trappings, white umbrella and a mahout. Taking the value of all that, I had a monastery built. The palaces that I built there numbered 54,000 then, holding a massive almsgiving. I gave it to the sage so great. The great sage gave thanks to me then. The self become one, best person. Then he preached the path beyond death to all of the smiling people. Then Buddha, named for the lotus, made this prophecy about me. Seated in the monks' assembly, he uttered these verses aloud. I'll relate the karmic results of this one who constructed here 54,000 palaces. All of you listen to my words. 18,000 huts with gables will come into being upon his superb heavenly mansion. They all will be made out of gold. 50 times as the king of gods, he will exercise divine rule. And 58 times he will be a king who turns the wheel of law. In 100,000 eons, arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world, falling down from the world of gods, incited by his wholesome roots. Every time he will be reborn in a rich clan with lots of food. He afterwards leaving the world, incited by his wholesome roots, will be the teacher's follower, known by the name Rāhula. Being one bent on exertion, calmed, devoid of grounds for rebirth, knowing well all the defilements, he'll reach nirvana, undefiled. Rising up, having left the world, abandoning abundant food, like one for whom almsfood is phlegm. I have no taste for any food. My effort bearing the burden brought me release from attachments. Now I'm bearing my last body. In the Buddha's dispensation, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Rāhula Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Rāhula Thera is finished. Sopāka. The Blessed One named Siddhartha came into my presence one time, when I was cleaning a retreat on a most fine, superb mountain. Seeing the Buddha who'd arrived, I spread out a woven grass mat for the world's best, the neutral one, and gave to him that floral seat. Sitting on that seat of flowers, Siddhartha the world leader, discerning my situation, then spoke about impermanence. In flux indeed is all that is. Things that arise and then decline, are being born and then dying. Happy is the relief from them. Saying this the omniscient one, the world's best one, the bull of men, the hero flew into the sky, just like a swan king in the air. Abandoning my own dogma, I then perceived impermanence. Meditating for just one day, right then and there I passed away, incited by my wholesome roots. I then enjoyed the twofold bliss. When my last rebirth was attained, I was born among dog cookers. After I set out from the house, I went forth into homelessness. Dreadlocked ascetic 7 years. I attained my arahantship. Energetic, self-abandoned, careful about the moral rules. Having pleased the great elephant, I got higher ordination. In the 94 eons since, I did that good karma back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of a flower gift. 10. In the 94th aeon since, I obtained that perception then. Meditating upon that sense, my defilements were all destroyed. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sopāka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Venerable Sopāka Thera is finished. 20. Sumangala. wishing to make a sacrifice. I had a meal prepared back then, and stood in a large Malaka, venerating the Brahmins there. And then I saw the Sambuddha Payadasi, greatly famed one, who was the tamer of all worlds, the self-become, the neutral one, standing before his followers. That blessed one, really shining, was blazing forth just like the sun, when entering its chariot, pressing my hands together then, and bringing my own heart pleasure. I invited him with my mind. Let the great sage come to me now, discerning what I was thinking. He who was peerless in the world, teacher, with 1,000 arahants, came right up to my doorway then. Praise to you, O well-bred person. Praise to you, ultimate person. Ascending into my palace, please sit upon the lion throne. The tame one, with tamed retinue, crossed over, the best ferryman, ascending into my palace, sat down upon that seat superb. Foodstuffs which had been presented, that still remained in my own house, I then gifted to the Buddha, feeling well pleased by my own hands, with a pleased heart and happy mind, joyful, with hands pressed together, I worshipped the best of Buddhas. Oh, the Buddha's great eminence! Many arahants are among these, nobles being served and eating. That is your majestic power. I too go for refuge in you. Payadasi, the blessed one, the world's best one, the bull of men, sat down in the monks' assembly, and uttered these verses aloud. Of he who fed the assembly, which is upright and attentive, and the Sambuddha, thus gone one. All of you listen to my words. 27 times a God King, he will exercise divine rule, with pleasure in his own karma. He'll delight in the world of gods, and also 18 times he'll be a king who turns the wheel of law. He will reside upon the earth, and have 500 earthly reigns. Plunged into the woods, the forest, a tiger-frequented jungle, having put forth great exertion, I destroyed all the defilements. In the 1800 eons, since I gave him that gift back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of giving food. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sumangala Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sumangala Thera is finished. The summary. Sīhāsani and Ekathambhika, Nanda and Culla-Panthaka, Piliṇḍa and also Rāhula, Vangata, Ratthapāla, Sopāka and also Sumangala. 10 are in the 2nd chapter, and 137 verses are related here. The Sīhāsani chapter, the 2nd.